Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your brother here, Abu Sumaya, and this is part 2 of the segment, Yeah, I Became Muslim in Jail. So what? Alhamdulillah. So I believe last time I left off speaking about mental health. So mental health is one of those things that's become really popular as of late, especially amongst men, especially amongst black men at that, but amongst men in general. And there's a lot of work, in my opinion, that still needs to be done. And so, dealing with mental health and being in the penal institution as a young man at that, I'm not sure if people really understand how that affected myself and many others as well. As I said, when I went to prison, I was 17 years old. When I came home, alhamdulillah, with the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I actually came home at the age of 29, which I came home a few years earlier due to a legal technicality in my case, which was, man, truly a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because, Allah knows, like, man, I was tired. I was definitely tired, and so that was a blessing, and it was right on time. And yeah, so the mental health aspect, I just spoke with a brother not too long ago. Me and Abdul Aziz, we were just speaking about because the brother, he actually went to college for mental health psychology. He graduated, alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and guide him in all his efforts. And he was saying that was something that he wanted to do, kind of go into the institutions and help brothers and be just have that sense of leadership and go in and help brothers and focus on mental health with individuals inside the institutions, especially as a Muslim. And that would definitely be a dope experience. That would definitely be a blessing as well. And yeah, so mental health. Sometimes people don't understand that when you are young and you grow up in these impoverished neighborhoods or so-called ghettos of America, that you are opened up, you end up experiencing many things at an early age. For example, even nowadays, people see a lot of these younger guys and younger brothers dealing with certain things as drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and they speak so highly about, just like it's a high sense of overt sexualism going on in society with the younger generation. But these are things that young men and women are exposed to very early on, unfortunately. Me myself, I believe I was about 12 years old, 11, 12 years old when I first started experiencing with marijuana, alcohol, and some even younger than that. And I was maybe a little even younger when I first started experiencing with like criminal activities. No matter how small they may be, they may stem from busting a window to stealing from out of the store to some even higher crimes, like such as stealing cars, and not myself but other individuals that I grew up with, carrying weapons, whether they were guns, knives, things of that nature. Some people dealt with many fights in their homes, fights in their schools, witnessing domestic abuse. Some experienced sexual abuse. Some experienced sexual encounters even at a young age. I mean, it was kind of common for young men to have their first sexual experience at a very young age. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. I don't think we kind of understand how that plays on the psyche of a child. And so growing up, you experience those things, and then we're placed in a system, the prison system, to where that's all you've ever known. And it gets to a point to where once you understand that there's more to life, then you can begin to do something better. But many don't get there, and that's unfortunate, but it's very true. Many don't get there. Many don't spend that time in reflecting on their lives and then trying to figure out, like, man, how did this happen to me? How did I start, my past, where I am now, my present, and where can I go and what can I be in the future? And many don't understand that. And many people from the outside looking in just don't really understand the lives of a lot of individuals in the prison system coming up and just how they got to where they are. And unfortunately, neither do they care. And so that's something that the prison system doesn't provide a greater mental health aspect and help for individuals in those conditions in the prison system, male and female. But me, I'm more so speaking from a male perspective because I'm not really hip to what many women go through. I'm quite sure they have their own experiences growing up as well as going through that system. But I can probably more so connect with the growing up part because there were probably many things as well that we all a commonality in the things that we all experienced. And so I remember myself when I was incarcerated. I was diagnosed with being bipolar depression. And I didn't think that, there was really something wrong with me. Like, in my opinion, there was nothing wrong with me. I just felt like, okay, I'm in prison. There will be times where I am sad. There will be times where I'm not. Well, I'm kind of upbeat. I wouldn't say happy. Yeah, I can say happy. But for the most part, there'll be many times where I am down. I've been stripped away from, life as I knew it, my family, my friends, people that I love. And now I'm here in a position to where, I'm just here. I was fortunate enough to learn some things, and I was very, very fortunate enough for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make me Muslim. And, that was a blessing. And so I hope I'm not moving too fast. As I said, my videos are raw, they are unedited. I'm not really tech savvy with those things. And so some things may sound repetitive, excuse me if they are, but I hope that my message is still getting through and as I would like. And so, like I say, okay, me dial it back. Like I said, I was diagnosed with bipolar depression. And, it was just a norm for me. Like, okay, there'll be times where I will be sad. I'm dealing with a system where a lot of the guards there are Caucasian. And not only that, but they're from these rural areas. Like, the prisons in Illinois are, like, way out in, like, no man's lands. Like, they're out in towns that I would have probably never encountered or found out about if it wasn't for me being incarcerated and just traveling through the state of Illinois at times from prison to prison. But you start to see that a lot of these areas are majority Caucasian neighborhoods. And so some of them, they've never interacted with many black people at a time, or Latino people at that. They may have some here and there, but not so far as interacting with us culturally. So they don't know. So there is a lot of aggression. Some men come in very aggressive, especially young men come in very aggressive. Some of those guys are not prone to aggression. They've never encountered such individuals. So yeah, they are scared, and that's understandable. They are scared, and their reactions at times showed. And so to be in such a high and intense environment, it does something to the psyche. Man, it really does something. And at times it's sickening. It can lead to a lot of mental health illnesses. And, I witnessed some of these things firsthand. I witnessed some brothers break. I witnessed some brothers just react and they snap off, and it didn't always turn out good, even for some guards. I witnessed some of them in the midst of not knowing what to do, just fly off the rail, off the handle, as we say. And it's unfortunate that as human beings, we have yet to really seek to form more ways to understand each other. There's been more ways put out there for us to separate from one another and have such a strong sense of individualism that we haven't really took the time to kind of step back and look at the things that connect us. as human beings, period. And you see that being in the institutions. You see that. And they kind of play on it. They play on it heavily. You know, it's the modern day plantation. Truthfully, it's the modern day plantation. How they uplift some inmates over others, and you know, they really play this game, they really do these things. It's a lot of politics in that place where, you know, you kind of have to know how to navigate. And for some it was best for them. For some it wasn't. And so, but as for myself, I can say I definitely had my battles. Even after I came home a few years ago, with still dealing with mental illness. Maybe not to the extent of some brothers or sisters, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't like full on, like I wasn't totally wholly there. And I didn't really understand that until, you know, I came home. And that's something that I hope a lot of brothers coming home from the institution do understand, that you have to desensitize. Like, you have to clean yourself out. You have to filter out all of that the ignorance. You have to filter out all of the violence. You have to filter out, like, you have to filter these things out of yourself. You know, even the pornography. Like, a lot of brothers get hooked on pornography in there, and those are things that you have to really filter out of yourself coming out to this outside world, man, because it's sickening. And if you come out here with that mindset of how you were in the institution, I've seen it's been the leading cause of a lot of brothers end up going back to the prison system. So, and it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of help that needs to be given to these brothers as well. And in my opinion, that is something that falls on the shoulders of individuals like myself and others that have come home and been able to keep it together, to come home and, you know, get back on track and stay on the deen. We need to really sit back and assist and help these brothers out, and that would be a blessing. And so, a little about my knowledge journey. So I did get my GED when I was incarcerated. I did culinary arts. I was able to do an agriculture program through the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I completed some college courses, as I believe I stated previously, with Imam Taha, Tawil, Hafizullah, and a big shout out to the Taiba Foundation, which through their prison initiative, which I believe they call it like the Malcolm X program, but this is how I actually got into fiqh and learning other Islamic sciences that I studied with them. Sheikh Rami Nasur and those brothers out of California, I highly recommend them for brothers and sisters studying the deen that are incarcerated, and, you know, just to benefit and begin to really learn something as far as Islam. Like, it does a lot. It does a great amount of good. And so myself and a lot of brothers, we benefited from their program at the Taiba Foundation, located out of California. And the brothers want any further information on that for any loved ones that you know that are incarcerated, you can just leave something in the comments, and when I check it, I'll get back to you, inshallah ta'ala. And yeah, so I was able to do that. And before I came home, I was in an institution called Kiwani Life Skills Reentry Center. And it was one of those places to where the state was trying to kind of take a turn to prepare individuals for the outside. So it was very relaxed. There was a lot of things that they had implemented education-wise, even as far as just movement-wise, kind of getting people out of the everyday movement of, you know, you have to line up when you're outside. You have to be side by side. They want to more so mimic the outside world, the environment within this one facility. And, you know, they did their best, alhamdulillah. It was a lot better before I came, but, you know, there's always some things that happen prior that ruin it for the later upcoming individuals. And so I wish that brothers would have been more mindful of that, but alhamdulillah, Allah musta'an. So yeah, I was there for my last like 6 months. before the court cleared me and brought me home. And you know, that was a blessing. It was definitely a great feeling. It was a great feeling, man. Unexplainable. You know, some things you just can't put to words. But when I was there was actually where I was really heavily introduced into like mental health. You know, that's where I came across just being able, just learning how to articulate myself, articulate what you're actually feeling. And I actually have it in a folder. I'm not gonna get up and get it down, but what's called an emotion wheel. And I highly recommend that brothers and sisters, people, you know, you can find it online, print you one up so you can correctly identify the emotions that you are displaying and what you're actually feeling. Because what you may feel is anger may not be anger, it may be disappointment. There are many feelings amongst other feelings, underlying feelings that you may really feel, but you may think it's one thing, but it's actually something else. And until you're able to identify it, you will incorrectly articulate your feelings. And for those who don't know as well, they would misinterpret just how you feel. And so then you get the bumping of heads. And so, it's kind of low. My wife is messaging me, alhamdulillah. Yeah, and so to be able to, you know, correctly identify just how you feel is a big thing. You know, I don't consider myself a mental health expert in no shape, form, or fashion. I'm only speaking from my own experience, what I've known, what I know, and what I've been through myself in certain situations, such as prison and coming home from prison. So if you know anyone if you or anyone you know have been through the same situation, take a step back to really ask yourself, like, man, have I really looked at myself to make sure that my own mental health is upright? You know, and take care of yourself, man. Like, really take care of yourself. And you know, physical fitness plays a great part in that, as well as really building a relationship with the Quran and learning your deen. That really plays a part in, you know, your spirit, the spiritual aspect. So physically, spiritually, mentally, you know, they all go hand in hand. And so we have to really begin to really acknowledge that and keep ourselves up. One of the best books I can recommend will be Ibn al-Qayyim's The Diseases and Its Cures, which I actually have on the shelf as well. And it's a great book with helping you recognize things about yourself, as well as if you're more of an advanced student, you can do Imam Ghazali's treatises, and he has Ihya Ulumuddin. He has a lot of works. Imam Ghazali has a lot of great works with just helping one identify and understand, you know, and navigate of, you know, who we are as humans and as Muslims, and dealing with spiritual ills, etc. And those are great works. I think you do need a teacher for some of them to really get that underlying understanding. That would be best. So if you definitely need that help, then definitely look for someone, you know, your sheikh or another student that's graduated from like university or really studying under someone who knows what they're doing. You know, all things aren't meant to just be tackled on your own. We have things in Islam, knowledge in Islam, where we can do it on our own. But then there's a lot of things that if you really want to be serious and you really want to adapt and take it in, you need a teacher from it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need teachers for it. And so, yeah, for the most part, everything is good. I'm just kind of going over the shelf and trying to see if there is anything here that could be and these are good books in the English language, things that I had from when I was incarcerated. This is one of them, 44 Ways to Manhood by Taimullah Abdul Rahman. This is a great book I remember reading, as well as by Zakaria Khalil, The Muslim Mindset. I recommend that as well. And by our sister Yasmin Mogahed. This is actually a book I read. I reread it over and over. Reclaim your heart. A great work. And so those are just a few works when it comes to kind of just rebuilding yourself and kind of helping build yourself and focus on and developing your spiritual sense as well as your mental sense, and how they go hand in hand. Yeah, alhamdulillah. And so, is there anything else garnering my experience in the prison system? I mean, I don't really want to make this all about, there's brothers with much more interesting stories than mine who did much more time. When I say time, I'm talking about I know brothers that did 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, even 50 years in prison. And when you hear numbers that high, you wonder how does someone survive? But there's literally people that did 50 years in prison. And so that just goes to show but they've come home and they've been able to stick with the deen. They've been blessed to come home, stick upon the straight path, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is truly the most merciful. And so that's the video part 2, and maybe part 3 will be more interesting. Hope I didn't bore you all too much. If there are any questions, mainly comments, no problem, brothers. I'm open to any and all criticisms or no, just advice that brothers have to give, because I feel like we all have a story to tell, and it's best to be your own narrator. You have to start taking control of said things and certain things in that nature. But we all have something that we can give to one another. So if this video has been of any benefit to anyone, truly all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. I'm really just me, Abu Sumaya, or your brother Talib. And if there's anything that you find any conflict with or anything I said wrong, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me, for the fault is mine and truly all mine. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a great and blessed day.